Alright everyone, welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be talking about the sequel to the first Hellraiser movie, being Hellbound, Hellraiser II. Overall, I really like the sequel to Hellraiser. I think it was really well made, it was well shot. Of course I got some problems with it, and I'm going to discuss those momentarily. But overall, I think Hellraiser 2 is a very solid continuation, and it further explores the mythos and adds to the mythos of the Hellraiser mythology. Okay, let's waste no time. Let's get into this. This movie is directed by Tony Randall, and I actually really like Tony Randall's directing style. He has a very German expressionistic type of style of directing, which I really like and appreciate, because to me that harkens back to like movies like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where it has like those, intense, creepy, interesting visuals that appears on screen. And I think Tony Randall had a very good eye, in my opinion. Like I said, very heavily inspired by German expressionistic films of the 20s with his visual style, which to me makes this movie really stand out from a technical standpoint, especially when we get to the second half of the movie, which I think is the strong half of this movie, because to me the first half of this movie is kind of weak. Of course, we get returning to the role. We have Ashley Lawrence coming back as Kirsty, and we have some new characters. We have this new character of Tiffany, who's a mute girl, who we find out was brought to this institution by her mother at the request of a doctor, who ends up killing her mother. And the reason why is because this girl, Tiffany, has a talent for solving puzzle boxes. We also are introduced to this character of Channard, played by Kenneth Cranham, and I really like this character of Dr. Channard. He's the pure scumbag. He is a fucking vicious, sadistic bastard. He kills the girl's mother, renders her mute, and then he helps Julia, because Julia gets resurrected again in this movie. And then he pretty much helps, Julia, gain her, health back and skin and all that good stuff. So yeah, this Channard guy is a real fucking bastard. And of course, the movie also kind of hints of like a twisted romance between him and Julia, which I actually do like. And I actually like how they explored that, because it pretty much leads to what the second half of this movie. But like I said, the first half is the weakest half, mainly because for like a good half hour, it's mostly just recapping the first movie, and you get some story elements here peppered here and there, but it's mostly just set up to the second half of the movie, which is the strong half of this movie. Pretty much once Tiffany opens the box and the Cenobites appear, this is where the movie picks up. And like in the first movie, the Cenobites don't take center stage, which is what I like, because what they're doing aside from the Cenobites is a lot more interesting. We got Christy, who has a little subplot, who wants to go into the hell dimension to save her father, because she got a message from what we think is her father saying, "I'm in hell, help me." So her subplot is to go into hell and try and save him. And then we got the whole Dr. Channard subplot, who is trying to open this lament configuration and go into hell, and because he wants to experience these pleasures, which he inevitably does it with the help of Julia. So once we get into this thing, and I want to say flat out, the whole look of what this dimension is called the Labyrinth, which is ruled over by Lord Leviathan. And the whole look of the Labyrinth is awesome. Like I remember, like I said earlier, it has a very 1920s German expressionistic feel to it. The way that the set design looks, and I like the use of matte paintings also in certain scenes, and the use of practical makeup effects and just practical effects in terms of creating the set. It looks beautiful. And on Blu-ray, it looks better than it ever did. It's quite a marvel. The set for Hellraiser 2 is awesome. The whole look of the Labyrinth is amazing. I love it. To me, Hellraiser 2, from a creative standpoint, to me, outdoes the first movie, because this movie it feels more grander because we're actually exploring the labyrinth. And we also get some history on Pinhead. We find out that Pinhead was actually a British soldier, a regular human being, who, because he wanted to find more pleasures, opened the box and he became Pinhead, the man we all know and love. So we get a little backstory with that. And I like how Christie used that later on in the film, and she pretty much helps Pinhead remember that he was once human and ultimately helps Pinhead, regain that lost humanity that he had. And of course, this brings us to the whole Dr. Channard thing. While Pinhead is regaining his humanity, Channard is losing his humanity because pretty much Julia introduces him to Leviathan, who in turn turns Channard into a Cenobite, and this Channard Cenobite has a real cool, grotesque looking look. I really like it a lot. His head is stuck to this thing which looks like a fucking giant dick, which is hilarious, unintentionally hilarious. And he has these little snake things that can turn to knives, weapons, and crazy shit like that. And he actually Channard actually kills the Cenobites, and once he kills every single Cenobite, they refer to the human form. We see one Cenobite was an attractive woman, one Cenobite was a fat fuck, one Cenobite was a kid, and Pinhead is revealed to be in his human form once he gets his throat sliced. And of course, before that, we get to Christie's whole subplot wraps up, because we find out there was actually her Uncle Frank that was giving her the messages, and Frank is ultimately killed off by Julia in retribution for Frank killing Julia in the first movie. So Julia gets a little bit of a payback on Uncle Frankie over there. So yeah, now back to the good stuff. Of course, Julia dies in this movie anyway. Something happens where this heavy wind, this heavy suction's happening, and Julia loses her grip, and she literally gets pulled out of her skin and sucked. That was pretty cool. So we get to the ending. Channard's about to kill Christie. He's about to kill Tiffany. Christie had since disappeared, but then we see Julia, and at first we're like, oh no, what happened to Christie? But it's revealed that Christie is using Julia's skin as a deception for Channard, and of course, Christie and Tiffany end up defeating Channard. And that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna say no more. I'm not gonna go any more greater detail, because I think you should watch this movie, because Hellraiser 2 is a damn good sequel. It does a good job at building on the first movie while also being its own thing, and I give it heavy praise for doing that. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna give Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 a solid. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10, and I give it an 8.5 out of 10 solely because the second half is where this movie picks up and where a lot of the intrigue comes in. And to me, the whole second half of this movie, fixes the problems I had with the first half of this movie, and also, it to me is much more creative and much more visceral than the first movie. Not saying the first movie's bad, but the second half of this movie pretty much outshines the entire first movie. And of course, the acting and performances are great. Candace Cranham as Channard, like I said, is awesome. Vicious bastard. Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty is always great. And Claire Higgins as Julia is just she's just a bitch. And I like the actress who played Tiffany. And yep, that's it. 8.5 out of 10. If you haven't seen Hellraiser 2, give it a watch. I think you will be pleasantly surprised as to how good it really is. Anyway, I'm AJ Legend. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll check you back next time for more.